Hello. How's it going? It's good to see you. See you. Hope you're doing well. I had a really interesting conversation with my son here a few days ago and just have felt sort of compelled to talk about it. We were having what we call a closet check-in, which I'll explain what that is in a second. But he was kind of seeming a little overwhelmed on that particular day. I think it was Monday, and just a little more emotionally charged than he usually is, falling apart kind of about things that weren't necessarily worth falling apart about, or things that he would get emotional about normally. And so he came to me by that early afternoon and said, "Mom, I think I need a closet check-in." And I said, okay. So we walked to the closet and we sat down on the floor. Again, I'll explain closet check-in in a minute because it sounded a little bit strange. But we walked and we sat down on the closet floor. We shut the door and I said, "Why don't you tell me what's going on?" And he said, "I think I'm anxious." And I said, okay, there's a lot to be anxious about right now. Why don't you tell me, do you feel like you know what's making you anxious or upset? And he said, well, I'm really scared that the coronavirus is going to come into our apartment. And I really miss my friends. And I know I get to see them when I do the video calls with our class, but it's not the same. And I really want to go to a park, like a playground, and I want to have recess with my friends. And everything's changing and I don't like it. And, he's 7. And so I sat there for a second, to be honest, sort of astounded by his ability to recognize his anxiousness in the moment. But outside of that, I said, this is a big deal about closet check-in with us. It's a place of validation above everything else. So it's a place where you can talk about what's going on with you, how you feel right in that moment, and there's not judgment about it, and there's not an intent to immediately fix anything. It's just a place where you can talk about what's going on in your head or heart. And so I said, you know what, Mac, you are so right to feel all of that. You're so right. And I said, and it feels lonely, I think, to have those kinds of thoughts right now. It just feels sort of alienating, but I'm with you. I could not be more with you. And while I can't stand like physical activity outside for the most part, so the playground thing isn't my jam, I miss seeing humans. I miss going to Starbucks and meeting new weird people like I do. And I'm scared too. I'm scared for your health. I'm scared for mine. I'm scared for my parents. I hate it. I can't stand. I'm scared for the business. Well, I didn't say that because I don't want that stress on him, but right? Like me too. I'm scared. Me too. I'm anxious too. And so I told him, I said, something I've been trying to do that we can sit here and try and do it if you want to, or we can do it outside of closet check-in. Anytime I feel like I'm doing something because I'm scared right now, right? I feel like I'm staying inside because I'm scared. I feel like I'm running through to Target to get everything I need and then literally running out because I'm scared. Not going to the playground because I'm scared. Anytime I feel that fear, I'm trying to replace that with, am I doing something because I'm scared, or am I doing it because I'm smart? So he sat there for a second and he said, you mean like when we passed the playground and we really wanted to play, we didn't play on it, not because we're scared that we're going to get it, but we decided to keep going for a walk and pick stuff up on the nature trail because we're smart. I said, yeah, exactly. So we went through then and tried to identify different changes in how we're living, and how we can interpret those as being smart decisions in a time like this instead of changing the way we're living because we're scared. And I told him, I said, that is not an easy mindset change. And it's a daily decision. Might even be like minute to minute decision where you do something and that fear starts to set in and you go, no, this is a smart decision. This is intelligent. This is educated. And it seems to kind of make a difference for us. So we sat there and just had that. I thought maybe that concept might be helpful to you. About the closet check-in, just to kind of explain that process, it sounds a little bit strange maybe, but after my divorce, when I brought the kids over to my apartment, we were walking around the house and, looking at all the things that were new and different and the things that were the same, things that I brought here that looked the same, stuffed animals the same, and just kind of going through that process together. And they share a room, Mac and Hazel, and when we got to their room, the closet in their room is abnormally large. It's very strange. And so anyway, we walked into their closet and the three of us were in there and Mac said, this is so big in here, it's like we could have a meeting. And that moment when he said that, I believe a combination of God basically shoving me to say this and probably a little bit of my activator strength of jumping off most cliffs that I come into contact with. I said, well, how about we have a meeting then? Let's sit down and have a meeting. I did not know. About what? I don't know. So they got super pumped because it was new and something different, right? So we sat down on the floor and shut the door. And I said, maybe this is a good time to do sort of a little check-in with the three of us and see how we're doing and what we're feeling today. And I said, I'll go first if that's helpful. Something important about this part of the story and a huge part about closet check-in from an adult perspective, it is not a moment for me to emotionally dump on my kids. They can't handle it, right? They got their own stuff they're trying to work through. They cannot process the stress or emotions that I have, nor can they fix it, which they would want to do. So that's super important. But I like to share enough and be vulnerable enough in that space with them that they feel comfortable doing the same without feeling like they have to internalize whatever it is that I'm going through. So I told them in that moment something about, hey, I was excited to show you the new, our new home here, what it looks like. I was a little bit nervous about it because it's different. I'm also still a little bit sad about what's going on, and it's a new change and it's kind of scary, and so kind of left it there. And I said, do y'all anybody want to talk about kind of how you feel right now too? Well, they just dumped and asked all the horrible questions that kids ask going through divorce. And we cried, the three of us, and we just sat there on the closet floor. I don't even know how long. So we kind of sort of wrapped our emotions up and we were getting to a good place. We'd all shared. We stood up to walk out because it was obscenely warm in there, and opened the door. And I think it was Hazel who said, I really liked this closet check-in. And it was named, it was birthed in that moment. And I said, I really like closet check-in too. Maybe we could do these more often, maybe. And they just, yeah. So from that point forward, we did a closet check-in. They go back and forth between my ex-husband's house and mine. The first night that they're with me, we do a closet check-in, and the last night that they're with me, we do a closet check-in. And we can have more in between, that time, but for sure, those two, they tend to be the times they're a little more, we all are a little more emotional, right? And so anyway, months and months of closet check-ins happened, and we did that over and over. I ended up getting printing little emoji face stickers for the wall so we could point to how we were feeling at some point in time if we were having trouble finding the words or we just didn't want to share. It's not a forced thing. Closet check-in's forced. You have to sit in there when it's time, but you don't have to say anything if you don't want to that day. So fast forward a couple of months, and it ended up around October, and my dog Thomas died. And that was another gigantic kind of emotional blow. We had started to get into a norm and a rhythm, and then, that happened with Thomas, and it kind of knocked everybody off their feet. And so there was one day in particular, it was a week or two after Thomas had died, and Hazel was just in a heavy emotional state that day, like 4-year-olds are, tantrum over things that I didn't understand what was happening. Like, she tore the wrapper in a weird way to something, and that just made her lose her mind. Just stuff. If you're a parent, who knows, right? It's just crazy. You feel like you're living in crazy town. So anyway, she kind of really lost it at this one thing, and ran into the room and slammed the door, which just makes me insane. And so I stood out here for a second to sort of gather myself, and then walked in there and sat down on the bed. I was going to let her kind of have her freak out until she was calm enough to talk about what was happening. And so I sat on her bed with her for a few minutes while she calmed down, and she looked up at me, she kind of gathered herself a little bit and said, "Mom, I think I need a closet check-in." To this day, that was in October, to this day I have a hard time talking about that moment without getting emotional, because I could not believe what had happened. These closet check-ins that we'd done for months, which I felt like some were really helpful. Some felt like we just sat in there for 15, 20 minutes and then left. They had created a space where now she and Mac did right after her. It had created this space mentally for them that they recognized there is a location to which I could go and just talk about what's going on with me and get it out. And not keep it inside or continue to be upset or whatever. And I mean, I fought back major parent tears. And I said, "Yes, Hayes, yes, let's go have a closet check-in." So we went in there and sat down. She talked about all the things that were bugging her. Some made sense, some didn't, because she's 4, but she still sat there and got it out, And that changed, everything changed that month when both of them started to request closet check-ins on their own. We still did the first day and the last day check-in together, but they began to request closet check-ins independently with me to go through things that were tough for them. And we do them to this day all the time. There's something about that space, by the way. If that sounds like something that you wanted to kind of, try out on your family or on yourself or, with whoever, I think there's something about a designated space. We don't have those conversations all over the house. Please hear me. This is not like they're having all these existential conversations with family all the time. No, they happen in the closet. They happen on the floor in the closet. And so they feel safe in there. They feel like that is a space that they know because they have experience of nothing else in there but validation. And so they know that's what that space is for. So if this is something you feel like you wanted to try, my suggestion would be, if you don't have a weirdly large closet like that, to pick a corner of a room, someplace where you really wouldn't be having conversations or sit down together normally, so that space creates its own identity that way. But closet check-ins, they are a massive part of our life. And now, who knew, this huge, massive life change has happened and everything's turned upside down. I feel like I was about to start singing Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Regroup. But anyway, so I hope this is helpful for you. And, let me know if you have questions or you want to hop on a call together. Shoot, if you need a closet check-in, I'm up for it. Let's do it. You sit on your floor in the closet. I'll sit on mine. There's no judgment on what your closet looks like because it's a judgment-free zone. And we can chat through stuff. So hope you have a really great day.